Hey everyone, it's Ray from the Teach Better team, and we are having our bi-weekly family check-in. And just for fun, we are streaming it everywhere. So get ready, find a comfy spot, have this open on your computer or your phone. We're going to be taking questions for as long as you guys have them, talking about remote learning and hybrid and maybe going back and forth. And I'm just excited to be here with you today, kicking it off with some energy and sharing some surprises. So I'll be back in a minute. Start thinking through those questions and posting them in the comments. All right, fam, bi-weekly family check-in. So usually I can add some context. Usually we only do this in our private Facebook group, which you guys can join at teachbettergroup.com. However, we just decided, why not? We're going to go live, not only everywhere on Facebook, but like YouTube and Twitter and some other places, because we all need a little bit of a boost. A lot of schools have been experiencing some changes this year. A lot of changes have been coming down the pipeline, I know, for school districts across the country. And honestly, we just get together in our private group usually to like set the tone for the week. So this is kind of our Sunday night hangout. So I am so thrilled that so many of you are posting in the comments. This is literally fair game. Like, we can discuss anything you'd like for our bi-weekly family check-in. So post your questions as we go. They can be questions about the classroom, maybe questions about behavior management for a student you're working with. Talk to me about COVID, what questions you're having with remote learning, hybrid learning. This could be questions about the Teach Better team. There's like a whole lot that launched this month. We're just here to send some positivity your way and hopefully have you feeling confident and ready for Monday as you have your cup of coffee and you're getting ready for work. So while you're all typing your questions in and your thoughts and your things that you want to discuss, even if it's just a topic, but you don't really know what the question is, post that in the comments. I do want to say hi to Nikki's here. We have Heidi here. Heidi, it's so good to see you. Danielle and Livia. Oh my gosh, Brianne. It's like so nice when the family gets together. Like, this is how it should be. Carrie and I just had a meeting together on Saturday. Carrie, it was so fun to be in a meeting with you on Saturday and just hear your positivity, your ideas. I love everything that you do. I so appreciate you, girl. And Brad is here. Brad, how's life, dude? Brad is not only active in the Teach Better team, but extremely active in our masterminds. And we actually host an administrative mastermind on Tuesdays. I always say every Tuesday, but it's twice on Tuesdays. I need to figure out like the fluid way of saying that. We host an admin mastermind twice a week on Tuesdays. It's in the morning on Tuesday and in the afternoons. And if you have any sort of leadership role, it's a great thing to check out. People don't come every single week. Some people only pop in once a month or when their schedule allows, but it's a great thing. You can sign up for that over at teachbetter.com/mastermind and try it out. So I always like encourage people to like go register. And then even if you can't make it for a few weeks, at least you have the link, which is kind of helpful. So hello to everyone. I do see Facebook user. I know StreamYard usually hides our comments, which I'm so sorry about for those private Facebook groups. When we're streaming everywhere else, it keeps your identity hidden. So I'm going to pull this up on my phone. That way I can see as people are posting. But I'm so glad you guys are here. My dogs are already goofing off in the background, so I hope you enjoy all of that as well. Oh my gosh, and Neil Gupta, how are you, buddy? It's good to hear from you. So for those of you who don't know me, I will go through that as you're kind of posting some questions or thoughts in the comments for us to discuss tonight. My name is Ray Hewert. I am currently a full-time 6th grade math teacher in Illinois, as well as the director of training and development for the Teach Better family. So I get to kind of 2 roles. I get to be with students by day and then work with teachers and administrators by night and on the weekends and all summer long. I really, really love that because it makes these types of conversations not only hopefully helpful for you, but super helpful for me. As you guys are thinking about what you want to get out of today, like what energy do you want to pull from so you can really kick your week off strong? What topics are you still chewing on that you want to discuss here as a family? I do want to give you a little update on what's going on in my life teaching. So really trying to make it simple, because I know some of you already have been keeping up with my journey. We obviously went back in August, but we went back fully remote, and we were remote with our students for 9 weeks, like the first quarter. So it was just like 150 students. We were required to go live 3 days a week with students, and we just kind of made it work. And we did get in a groove. And then after first quarter, they said, okay, we're going back hybrid. And so then we went hybrid, and they actually rolled that out slowly. Sixth grade did end up going back first. We were the first group. So we were kind of like getting our feet wet with hybrid. And trust me, as we were going through, it was getting easier and easier. The way that I was functioning in my classroom is that even though I had physically students in my classroom, I was also responsible for students that were remote. So I kind of put those in each student had 3 different categories. They either were fully remote no matter what, and they never came in my classroom. They were hybrid, but they were hybrid on an off day. So they were not in my classroom, but would be the following day. Or they were hybrid and they were physically in my classroom that day, but I wouldn't see them the next day. And so to kind of even out the playing field for hybrid, we decided that we were going to keep the methodology we were using first quarter and really just say that if we're hybrid, we are physically controlling our students' learning environment. I am giving them a safe space to learn. They have strong Wi-Fi, but as an entire family in my 6th grade class, we all started class together. We'd hop on a Google Meet, and that's exactly how we start class every single day. And then that Google Meet stays open the entire class hour. So after our teacher time, like that 6 to 8 minutes where we set the tone for class, students went and worked, and they would just come in and out very organically and fluidly through that Google Meet. And that's when we conference with students and have conversations. And then we all end with goal setting and reflection. So no matter what type of student they were, whether they were quarantined or remote or anything in between, we all started class together. We all were working on the same content, and then we all goal set and reflect at the end, which has been working. So on Friday, we had a good day. It's a pretty good day talking about Thanksgiving with students. There's obviously some rumblings in the air. We're all right, do we think that hybrid's going well? There's been some cases. How is this going? But to be honest with you guys, my classes, I have everywhere from 12 students in a class to 2 students physically in my class. So overall, it's been totally great. And I love that everyone starts together. The culture has been good, the vibe. And then they decided on Friday, go in remote. So to add, I need some teacher love right now. We were scheduled to do map testing Monday, Tuesday. And so in my mind, I'm all right, my new unit doesn't need to be ready till Wednesday. Easy, right? We have a weekend and we have map testing. It's going to be super fun, super easy. And then Friday night, they called it, we're going remote on Wednesday, which means map testing got canceled. So I was oh my gosh, everything that I had planned for later in the week now got shifted to Monday. And so there was some prep and kind of some teacher juggling, right, that we got to do this weekend. But so Monday morning, both my classes are going to still be in a hybrid setting, in that schedule. We are starting 2 new units. I teach 2 courses of math. So they're each starting a new unit. And then Wednesday, there's no school, and it's a teacher prep day for us to then transition starting Thursday to remote. So to kind of set that narrative, the district that I work for has said that we're going to be remote starting Thursday is the official first instructional day remote. We're going to be remote until at least December 7th. So that's kind of the world I'm living in now. They did change some of the rules for remote, which was kind of interesting. Before, they wanted us live 3 days a week for at least 20 minutes. And from what I understand, and I apologize if I'm speaking out of turn, there's a lot to read with the changes, but they want us live 4 days a week for the entire class hour. So that's going to be a little bit of a shift, not only for myself, but for all students and for all educators. And so I think people are just trying to process this weekend and make appropriate shifts. So I give you that context because I know we're all living this, and we're all kind of in a different bucket. We're all in different situations. But as a lot of you know, when you've been with us, if you've been with us since the beginning of the shutdown, kind of like March 13th last spring, the Teach Better team has done a lot to like shift and just try and support. And so I really wanted to kind of let you know what was going on in my classroom, because maybe there's a question that sparked from that 5 seconds ago when we started the video, you're like, oh, I don't have any questions, Ray. It's good to see you. And now when I'm asking out loud, you're like, ooh, that gives me an idea. I have a question or an idea I want to share or a resource I think would be valuable for anyone in this family. So I love that the comments are flowing. I cannot wait to read them. So I'm sorry I haven't been, as I've been kind of going through how the last few months have been in my personal classroom. But remember, our biweekly family check-in usually streams in our private Facebook group. But right now, we are streaming on our Facebook page, our Facebook group. We're on the YouTube channel for the Teach Better team, and we're also streaming on Twitter. So if you have any questions about anything that we can help with, whether it be classroom related or team related or whatever, let us know. I will even accept all puppy related questions. We will essentially be live until there's no more questions. We just use this time to help you start your week right. So hopefully this is getting you off to a good start. I love Livia is commenting on the mastermind. I mentioned the mastermind earlier. This is such a great free opportunity for admin leaders to get together. It is all facilitated by amazing Teach Better team member, Dave Schmitto. I just think he does an amazing job. So Tuesdays are twice as nice. There we go. I love it. Super cool. Oh, Jillian, I'm so glad you're here. You were a Facebook user. I'm so glad that you popped on and said your name. Danielle looks like she's starting us off with the first questions. That's so exciting. Just curious, when will you send me the result of how I won the free PD, since you all want to come to 80 degrees California winters? Good. Danielle, anytime we do a free PD giveaway, we do try very, very hard to choose our 10 professional development sessions as quickly as possible. And then we reach out to the administrators that were listed for the free PD. Do me a favor, Danielle. Chad will know all about that, and so will Jeff, because they kind of tag team that project together. So email Jeff at teachbetter.com, or you can email Chad at teachbetter.com, and they can give you an update on how that goes for sure, without a doubt. Neil, it's so good. I'm so glad that you're here. It's so good to see you. So good to see you as well. Hey, Ray, do you think it is best to be hybrid or remote? Is going back and forth difficult? It's a great question. It's actually a very similar question that I just had with my principal. I have a ton of respect for the principal that I'm fortunate enough to work for. He is so smart and has done so much. He is always so student focused, but then really understands like the teacher perspective, which makes for a great leader. And I think the struggle is, and I don't want to get on a soapbox about this, so let me try and figure out like the key points I want to hit. There's probably two key points I want to hit. One is when our families at any point throughout the semester, but really in August is what I'm thinking, decided to either be fully remote or hybrid, I feel like it could have been more appropriately presented, and maybe it was and I just didn't hear it, but appropriately presented as you either fully remote, which gives you consistency, or you are hybrid, which means things can change in an instant. I really feel like that hybrid was giving our family some comfort of like, yes, it helps me with so many things that the kids are out of the house and they're in a safe learning environment to learn and their teachers are advocating for them, and all that is true. But I think the struggle with hybrid was really that it can change so quickly. And so to your point, is going back and forth difficult? That is probably the biggest piece that I've heard. So what I have been encouraging all educators to do in the Teach Better family is that you always need a plan to be remote, and then you can adapt from there. So the way that my classroom works, my students take on themed internships that are all sponsored by local businesses, and they learn through a mastery framework. So to put that in like Teach Better language for you guys that know all the work that Teach Better does, I use the Teach Further model and the grid method. So I use the Teach Further model for like student engagement, intentionality, and purpose with the content. And then I use the grid method to ensure that my content is like standard aligned and rigorous and focused on like student understanding above all, right? And so when you layer these together, it's kind of like a sandwich. It's super good. But with that being said, the grid method has a ton of classroom management strategies that I'm using that work so fluid throughout the change from remote to hybrid. So I'm dealing with much more of supporting my student social and emotional health with the transition from remote to hybrid and the back to remote. I'm not feeling like it's going to be a big shift for me in my classroom content wise. My students already know how to advocate for their learning. They already know where to get access to their information. They already know how to get continual feedback on their progress. And these are things that are so integrated into our like day-to-day schedule that because in a hybrid setting, we were still using Google Meet, we were still using remote tools. Now we go remote, like nothing changes besides not being able to control my students' learning environment. Like I said, that was kind of my mindset. Like if you're physically in my room, I'm giving you a safe space to learn with strong Wi-Fi. That's the biggest change. Like students not being able to see their friends is the biggest change. So it's bittersweet. But if you are an educator out there, I do feel like just as I get comfortable, it does shift. Like right as I was feeling comfortable with remote learning, we shifted to hybrid. And like then hybrid was really, really challenging for like, I would say truly the first 2 weeks. I think we were only hybrid for like 4 weeks, is it? But anyway, but then I really like this week, like last week, I was like, oh, we are doing really good with hybrid. Like finally got my feet on the ground, finally feel like students understood the process because it's obviously learning new things. Like I really felt a groove. And it was funny because I was in my principal's office saying, hey, you know what? We're really getting this. And he's like, yep, just wait till it changes. And it changed that night. So I think that's probably the biggest struggle. I do think it's difficult to go back and forth, but I also see pros and cons to each situation. So I would just continue to encourage all educators, if you are in the classroom or doing anything with students, it's not even if you're in the classroom. If you have a role where you're doing anything with students, set up routines where hybrid and remote can't mess you up. Like that's really what it comes down to. So yes, kind of answered your question, hopefully. Sorry, I know I'm missing so many comments. I told you I was going to start from the beginning and now I'm already missing them. So I apologize. Carrie says, we've been hybrid since August and got word that we were going fully remote starting Wednesday. Oh my God, Carrie, twins. We're in the middle of a grid, and to be honest, the transition is going to be easy. Wow, Carrie, I'm so glad to hear that. I am feeling the same way. The only thing that I'm happy about is like I'm finding some students really like paper resources, like paper tools. And because we're not going remote till Wednesday, I will see my 2 hybrid groups Monday and Tuesday. And so I'm going to offer, like we use a digital packet, but if they want a physical packet, I do print some out. So that will be kind of nice when I see them Monday and Tuesday that they like could grab a physical packet. I even will probably joke with a few kids, like take 2, right? Because I have so many copies left over. But that will just allow them to maybe grab some tools for their, time remote. And we don't know how long that's going to be, but Carrie, it's interesting to hear that you guys are going fully remote because I know that you've been in hybrid since August. So you've been in hybrid so much longer than my experience has been. And so now they're making the shift. Do you know when you're going back to hybrid, or have they not released that? Like my district specifically said, like more information coming December 7th. So they're just trying to give people like a perspective. But I know a lot more districts, I'm finding it to be more common across the country that people are saying, yeah, we're going to close up until Thanksgiving, especially if you're in America. But then they're not coming back to like Martin Luther King weekend, right? So they're taking a much longer stint. Not to say that these schools, like my school district, who's saying they'll reevaluate December 7th, not to say they won't take that stint, but they're doing it in smaller increments versus other districts I know are kind of like chunking out that time so parents can prepare. So definitely a transition. Oh, good. Danielle saying you've been teaching remote the entire semester. Perfect. I'd love to hear about how that's going. Good to see everybody who's jumping in here. I love these questions. Feel free to keep throwing these questions in or any comments or concerns. That's why we're here. Carrie says, students have been split up A-B all year, but our remote instruction will all be students all together. planning some classroom culture, getting together, know your activities in November. It's bizarre. Yeah. So Carrie, let's talk about that. So it's interesting. You and I were kind of opposite. So because I started remote, I had all my kids all the time. Because you started hybrid, you were running what it sounds like from this comment, like an A-B schedule. So you had like two different like groups, if that makes sense. Now they're all coming together in a remote setting. That was the opposite for us. Whereas we were used to being one unified group. And then when we transitioned to the hybrid, a lot of teachers I work with transitioned to like an A-B schedule. So they were then seeing smaller groups. I never made that transition because when I was in hybrid, or when I'm in hybrid, our students still all come together. So like, it's very often that I'm supposed to have a student physically in my room and they're absent, but they join us remotely. Or like I always have all my kids at all times. So I totally understand like the weirdness of like almost doing culture building things in November. But maybe this is a beautiful opportunity, Carrie. Like, isn't this such a nice opportunity right before Thanksgiving to like kind of build people up again, you know, kind of do some get to know you stuff. I really think a lot of that fun get to know you stuff should be brought back throughout the year. You know, I see so many teachers that get so burnt out, like, you know, right before the holidays, or February is like such a hard month, or sometimes October is such a hard month for educators. Like, rather than just struggling, but then pushing with content, what if those times we brought these other experiences in, some of those culture building experiences? Because I think that is a really valuable way to kind of reset what's going on in your classroom. So I think this is a good thing, Carrie. I want to hear about what you're planning on doing, because sometimes like icebreakers, get to know you, culture building stuff, they get like super old. Like I feel like I use the same ones over and over and over. So I'm interested in hearing, especially remote, right? So like remote would add a whole different flair to that. So that's super fun. Carrie says, we were told we're going to go back to hybrid January 4th. Okay. So yeah. So it'll be remote, like all through Thanksgiving, all through like the holidays, and then you'll come back in theory hybrid. So good information. Nikki says, in my area in New York, we're still hybrid as of now. They keep saying every day that to get my students physically in school is a good day. Yes, I think a lot of educators are in a similar boat. I know a lot of classroom teachers and administrators are feeling the same way, that it's so nice to have the kids in the building, like even with masks, because it was weird like the first day, but gosh, it's like, it's such a different feeling when you have like kids. Like I had a student goof off last week and I like thanked him for goofing off. I'm like, do you know how nice it is to like see your personality and like see you kind of like be a kid? Like that's why we're in education. We love children, right? So there are definitely so much positives to that. But on the flip side, obviously we want to keep them safe. So finding that balance will be interesting. I am excited to see the difference that remote learning might look like after having the students in a hybrid setting. So for example, when we started remote learning, we had never met our students. So because we started remote in August for me personally. So when I met them in October, you were kind of like, who is that? I kind of know that student. We've been conferencing a bunch, but they look different. Or, oh, that's not what I expected. They're so much taller, right? There's like so many like funny things that we did our first week. Just like learning about each other, seeing each other physically versus through a computer. And now those same students are then back with me remote. So I'm kind of like excited when they're going to be remote with me, because I feel like I'm going to know so much better how to kind of like get them. Like I had a few gentlemen that are in some of my classes that in a remote setting, I like couldn't get to really speak up very much. I like tried so hard to build a relationship. But then even just the last few weeks I've had with them hybrid, we've been kind of goofing off in class, like really building our relationship, which for those gentlemen has been really valuable, like building a relationship when we're like in the same room versus on the computer. And so I'm like excited now because I'm eager to see if that then shifts, if we have a more successful experience remote or not. So that will be really, really good. Oh my gosh, there's so many comments coming in. Hi, Jeff. Good to see you. Glad you're here. I just got off the phone with Jeff, and Jeff did give me a very nice compliment. So I'm in a good Team Jeff headspace right now. Olivia says, at least once a week, I try to have team building activities for kids. They so love and appreciate it. Olivia, that's so important for our students. And that's honestly why, and this was years ago, that's honestly why I stopped calling my first 6 to 8 minutes. I stopped calling that mini lesson time. I'd used to talk to my friends and my colleagues and do professional development and say, okay, friends, I do a mini lesson, and then they get grid work time, and then we goal set and reflect. And I took that top part away. I'm like, it's not always a mini lesson. It is teacher time. I have full control over teacher time. I might do a mini lesson. I might address a common question, but I might also do team building stuff or talk about a funny YouTube video or something I saw on TikTok. It's so important to have those team building activities. Livia, if you wouldn't mind sharing, I'm going to challenge you. I don't know if you've done this in the comments yet, but would you share your top 3 team building activities that you like to do? And I'm going to encourage you, in person's great, but if you have any remote that you're willing to share, or even a hybrid setting that works, I would just love any team building activities. I feel is such a good thing to kind of have in your teacher toolkit that you can kind of pull out at a moment's notice. So let us know if you can pull that off. Carrie says, I think I'm going to do show and tell. Oh my gosh, perfect. So there's some pets showing their house or their room they'd like to share. They couldn't normally. So I love that. You're trying to find a way to engage your students where they couldn't have done it originally, right? So you couldn't really have a student do a show and tell on their pets when they're at school, unless they're bringing in a picture, right? But it's very different being able to do that when you're at home. We did we have something called tutorial. I don't know if people have this, but it's a study hall. It's not, but it is. And we would do something every Tuesday that would be something like that. Bring your pet to tutorial Tuesday, or bring a sibling to tutorial Tuesday. And so you'd log on, and sometimes I would forget, I knew that we were doing it, but I would just forget. And so I'd open up my computer to the Google Meet, and there'd be all these animals. And I'm like, oh, animals. I'm like, oh, today we're supposed to bring our pets. So then I'd go grab a dog. It's just so fun. So that's a great idea, Carrie. I think that's a great way to engage with students. Obviously, you want to consider all the environments that your students may be living in. Some students are going to have access to some, different things, but we used to also do scavenger hunts. There's so many things you can do for team building. That's really easy, in a house, that you can do for scavenger hunts. I don't know if you guys remember, we did daily drop-ins every morning. We've done them periodically, but we did them every morning in the spring, which was so fun. And Michael Jennings was maybe one of my favorite ones that we had. And his daily drop-in, which you guys could find on YouTube, by the way, if you didn't catch it. But his daily drop-in specifically was about bringing in movement and physical education into a environment that was remote learning at the time. Everybody was at home and not going anywhere. And so he was giving examples of household items every student probably has at home and how they could do an activity with it. Things like towels and brooms and forks, right? So those are things that if you're okay, every student is probably going to have some sort of blanket, let's give them access to go run and go get that. So usually we have a timer, and they have to run and go grab something and then come back. So anywho, I'm on a tangent, but those are some fun stuff we did. Carrie says, oh, good. Show and tell middle school edition. Yep. I like that comment so much. Jessica says, I've been in person since August, but are hybrid for students who need to be home. It's manageable until we have to quarantine over half a class. Yep. Still maintaining our regular schedule. So thankful I'm using the grid method because it felt a little less crazy. How much FaceTime do you have when you are remote? Jessica, this is such a great question. I'm so glad you threw this in their comments. And feel free, by the way, guys, I will be live until there's no more comments or questions, so throw them in. Jessica, you asked a really good question. So first and foremost, I'm glad the grid method gave you some stability. I felt the same way because my grid is provided to students digitally and kind of is our home base for our learning for that unit. they can access it anywhere. So whether a student is being pulled out because they're a close contact and so they immediately have to quarantine, I'm not like trying to like shuffle and find tools, because they have the tools they have access to at any point that they need. So it's a huge benefit. I'm so glad you feel like it's been less crazy. I have felt the same way. And so when I do my remote schedule, and actually when I do hybrid, I run the exact same schedule. And it's obviously like a smidgen different, right? Because like you speak a little bit differently when you have kids physically in your classroom. But here's the breakdown of what I do. And then Jessica, if you have a specific question of how I can help you to answer that last question that you had here, is like, how much FaceTime do you have when remote? Here's how I operate. The first thing I want to preface is that my school district did require a specific time that we were live. So it was kind of like a blanket statement for all, I think it was middle school, maybe secondary educators. So before, we had to be live 3 times a week for 20 minutes. Now I'm pretty sure, and I might be wrong by tomorrow, so I apologize, but I'm pretty sure we have to be live 4 days a week for the entire class hour. So here's how I run my class, because my class fits within both those categories, because a lot of my live time is culture building, setting the tone for learning, and then just talking to students to understand what they know. So you're talking about FaceTime. I consider FaceTime not only my check-ins that I have with students, but also the opportunities that I put into our grid, that I put into our learning, where I'm talking and conferencing to confirm understanding of my students before they move forward. So when students are here, we all start together. Like if we were starting class at 7:30 at night right now, we'd all be logging onto a Google Meet. That's the platform we use. I know I've used Zoom and WebEx and everything else, but for my district, we use Google. And we all hop onto the Google Meet. And when they hop on, I have a slide sharing like some directions, like what their physical space should be like. The first thing they always have to do is match their physical space. And then I just tell them to jam out to music, because they usually like a blasting music. So then I turn down the music, and then we all start together for like 6 to 8 minutes. I call this teacher time because I can do anything I want during that time. Sometimes it's going over the checklist for the day. Sometimes it's doing like a goofy team building activity. Sometimes I go over like a problem that I think would be valuable. I really like this. It just kind of sets the tone of learning. Like we're thinking, we're questioning. I really like to get students talking. This is not usually a time that I'm having them take notes. This is usually a time that I'm having them unmute and talk. So it's less about, all right, pick up your pencil, write down 5.3. Like, no. If I need to do like instruction, high stakes instruction, I usually would do a pre-recorded video for that. This is really like getting them in the mindset of like thinking, speaking, interacting, questioning. From that point, then they have the rest of class up until the last 5 minutes. Last 5 minutes, we goal set and reflect. They have the rest of class to work on their grid. And so I'm using a Bitmoji classroom to kind of house all the tools. I don't know if you've seen that, Jessica, but essentially I give my students a checklist, and the checklist is the same every single day. It's number 1, start on the Google Meet link, which they're already doing with me. Number 2, check that you've updated your tracking page, because the tracking page is where students advocate for their needs. Number 3, work on the grid. And so then I put the classroom goal of the grid, but obviously they can either be behind or beyond that point. Number 4 is always, hey, just checking, have you updated your tracking page? And then number 5 is seesaw, reflection, and goal setting. So they are like going through that checklist, and then that Google Meet stays live the whole time. So anytime they need a teacher conference, anytime they have a question, they pop onto the Google Live. So for me, when I'm thinking about like how much FaceTime I have with students, I have FaceTime with students not only every single day, but for a long time, because they're not only popping in at the beginning, but I'm conferencing with almost every student every day on something. So I feel like I'm getting a lot of FaceTime, but a lot of the FaceTime is also based off of the students' needs that day, if that makes sense. Hopefully that answered some of your questions. Danielle says, with the grid, the content structure is solid, and I have not had a single high school student complain about errors in their grades. Oh my gosh, I'm so thrilled. Yet out of my 200 students, about 10 have dropped out, and about another 20 have said that they lack motivation. What would you do for intrinsic motivation? Danielle, that's a really, really, really good question. I think anytime we can share ideas to engage our students, especially through intrinsic motivation, is huge. However, I won't lie. Like, I think you need to identify, maybe by asking students, like, what motivates them. Because I found that the reason I do the Teach Further model, which for those of you who may not know, like, I encompass our units in the purpose of the content by partnering with a business who uses that information. So for instance, tomorrow, my students are starting 2 new units. One class is starting a Baking Up Something Tasty unit, which is our fractions unit, all themed around banking. It's sponsored by a local business here called Sugar Mamas. And then the other one is a game show host where we actually have like a game show of Are You Smarter Than a Sixth Grader? And we talk about like what it's like to host a game show and all these things. So when we're doing those 2 units, when we're practicing those skills, a lot of the motivation, the intrinsic motivation you're talking about, comes from them understanding why they're learning. So if I was just like, okay, guys, we're learning fractions, that may not entice all of my students. But if I say, hey, today we're baking a cake, and the first thing that they have to do is they have to like, do this and this and this. And the first thing they're learning is the why, is the purpose. And then once they found the reason fractions are valuable, to then tie in and be like, okay, this is how you would solve this fraction problem. That intrinsic motivation comes because they understand why they're working. They're interested in what they're working. Now, you should know that I do not believe this gets every student involved. I understand that is a portion of students who will thrive in that environment. But so my response would be like, let's identify 2 or 3 different areas that would entice students, and let's encompass all of those 2 or 3 ideas into all of our daily learning experiences. So if every single day of students learning starts with a why, by doing something like the Teach Further model, or like PBL, or like STEM, kind of like if then you can kind of fill that bucket. Okay, so those students are going to do well. Another motivator could be like some sort of incentives, like they like the opportunity to win things, or, students will work for, like a bad example, like candy or points. Like, okay, maybe we should consider gamifying our units. Maybe we should like count up points for the class and give out some sort of award. Like, I think my point is, if you can identify like 2 or 3 key things they care about, and ensure that those things don't just come up every so often, but they are at the forefront of your day every single day, that motivation is going to hit on those students in a way that's going to be more effective than only focusing on the content. Not to say that you don't do any of this, by the way, like Danielle, I know that you do great things, but hopefully that gives you like food for thought. Like, I'd really consider, if you're saying, okay, 20 kids aren't motivated, I would go to those 20 kids and be like, when are you feeling motivated? What are you doing? Who are you with? What interests you? Okay, how can I then take all that information and bring that into my classroom somehow? So I'd love to hear about how that goes for you, Danielle. I know that's a process, but like don't focus on anyone else except those 20. Those 20 already said, hey, I'm over here not motivated. So that's your focus group. Like, that would be a great opportunity for them. Livia says, depending on how much time you have, life in a bag. Ooh, kids put 3 to 5 things that fit in a sandwich bag to share. I love that, Livia. That's a really, really good idea as a way to build community and have students share. Another idea is I Spy with my little eye. Students had to be observant. They took turns. I love this. That's a great idea. Great idea. Jessica says, that's pretty much how I'm running things now. I just have a few who tell me they don't learn well from videos, but trying to teach on Zoom is so tricky. So thanks for the tips. I'm nervous for them to go fully remote. Jessica, I wonder if this is the point where Ray gets on her soapbox. I love that you just said this, Jessica, because I think this is important. I have heard so many parents and teachers being like, my kid doesn't learn well via video. And you should know that for a really long time, I was like, oh, then what else can we do? And Like truly, like I have heard that for years. I've used video as instruction for years. And first it was like, oh, I grabbed this video off YouTube. Maybe they'll learn better with video if I make it. And then it went I've done so many different things. So I have 2 comments that I want you to consider. One is your students absolutely can learn via video because all of us, including them, are living on our phones. Like when I need a recipe, I am going to my phone and I am learning from a video. If I need to learn like how to change batteries that I can't figure out how to open, like the remote control, which Tom not saying happened yesterday, but maybe happened yesterday, I'm Googling it and I'm watching a video. And for me to learn that, the reason I'm able to learn in a video is because I know exactly what I'm looking for and I know exactly how to feel confident when I'm doing it. So for example, when I was looking up how to open up my remote control and put batteries in it, stop judging me for that, by the way. But when I was doing that, I scrolled through the videos, I chose the video that matched my remote, and I didn't have to watch the 5-minute video. I didn't have to do that. I just needed to know where the stupid button was that would release the lever where I could put the batteries in. Do you know what I'm saying? So I had a purpose, I had a mission, and I knew exactly what success looked like because once they showed me where the button was, I knew that I got what I needed from the video. So I could pause it, I could go to the remote, and I could open it up right away. So my comment for not being able to learn in a video could be because they don't know what they should be focusing on or how to learn through a video when there's a lot of information. So a lot of us learn through videos because we have very specific steps about a very specific topic. And so if we can take those same ideas that we would use in our normal day-to-day life and then apply them to content, they need to be short videos. They need to be targeted, and we need to teach our audience what it feels like, what it looks like to learn in a video. So for example, silly things. I'm saying you guys probably do this, but silly things like before you start learning, what should your physical environment look like? Should your sound be on? Like, should you have a writing utensil? Is there notes that go with this? Like, set up your culture first. As you're watching the video, you are constantly cueing your audience. I'm paying attention to this because this is important because if something's important, is it bring me value to write these things down? What can I do in the future to remember this? So you are doing so much more facilitating than teaching in a video. And then when the video gets to the point, whether it be halfway through or at the end, you're saying, what does it feel like to understand this? Because even in my videos, when I'm talking to students, I'm like, if you understand this, do not waste your time watching a 5-minute video on how to put batteries in your remote. If you open this up and you found what you needed and you feel confident on everything else in this video, then do not stop your learning by wasting your time. Put the video away and go move to practice. And so if we can teach our students this ebb and flow of learning, that's going to bring so much more value to your video. Because you know what? Students also can't learn when the teacher stands in front and just talks at them. And the reason that doesn't work either is because, again, the student doesn't know why they're there, what they should be focusing on. They're just trying to get through the day and check the box. Whereas you can open up a TikTok video and they can learn an entire dance via TikTok. Why is that? They're engaged. They understand the goal. They're committed to the mission. They are only getting the pieces of information they need and they don't care about anything else. Like, these are all things we have to start finding ways to incorporate in our videos. So I love that you brought this up, Jessica, because I hear it all the time. And my challenge would be for us to continue to question. So the first thing, I know I just spewed a lot at you, and I'm so sorry I got on my soapbox about that, Jessica. I love the question. My first suggestion for you would be to go to the student who says that they can't learn via video and have a really honest conversation. Like, yeah, I have totally watched a video and not learned anything from that. I wonder why that was. And have an honest conversation. What's the hardest part of videos? A lot of students for me that I've had these conversations with, they're like, it's boring. Or they're like, oh, I didn't understand it. And I'm like, oh, was your volume on? No. Okay. So that's a suggestion. I'm like, were you taking notes? No. All right, that's a suggestion. Did they have an environment where they could question after consuming the information or interact with the learning after consuming the information? No? All right, well, I can incorporate that. So if we can do these little things where like they can tell us rather than having us guess, then you're going to be able to adapt so much more quickly to support them because there's so many different things. But if they can be like, I don't know, it's really hard. You're like, oh, it's really hard. Maybe the video like wasn't the right scaffolding. Maybe they need a video before the video you had given them. So of course they can't learn from this. They're not understanding half the information. But if they had like some sort of scaffolding or they had, like if they had learned an idea, maybe they would have been more successful. Or maybe they were in a bad headspace when they watched the video. Maybe they were having an awful day. I can't learn when I'm having a bad day either. So now we're talking about, okay, so before you learn, like you got to do 10 jumping jacks. Make sure you put on your favorite hoodie. Like when you learn, this is a celebration. Like you got to set yourself up, right? So we can give students specific personalized feedback when we understand them. All right, I'm done with the soapbox. I'm so sorry. Jessica, I love the SI question. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. You're just such an incredible person. All right, I'm so sorry I lost where my comments were. I'm running to figure it out. Looks like Livia is sharing another idea. Thank you, Livia, for sharing 3 ideas with us for team building. This was so wonderful. If you guys missed these, she has shared 3 ideas that are so good. This is the 3rd. Another idea for community building. We had different themed days, teddy bear picnic, bringing snacks in. Oh my gosh, so fun. Crazy hat day. Oh my God, pajama day. That would be a great, easy thing to do. I love that. Hold on, I need to scold my dog. Hey, Harvey. Thank you. Okay, I apologize. Moving on. This is so good. Livia says, I started teaching my students how to sketch note this year. Oh my God, that's such an incredible way to take notes for so many students. This made a big difference to understand what they watch and learn. Oh, Livia, fantastic suggestion. Joe says, thank you, Ray. You don't know how much I needed to hear this right now. Good, Joe. That's why we're friends, buddy. I'm always here to help. Livia says, teach them that it's a good strategy to stop, rewind, and rewatch. Absolutely. I cannot tell you how many times I do that in videos all the stinking time. Just like a book, if you don't understand, you reread until you do. And what a great comparison. That's something that every child's going to understand. The idea of rereading something is so similar to rewinding. I'm going to use that tomorrow on my own classroom. Jessica says, no, your soapbox totally helpful. I'm glad, Jessica. Sometimes it feels like biweekly family check-ins, we just get on crazy tangents, and I always hope they're helpful, but then there's that one person. Usually at this time, it's like a 7:35 Central, and this is when I read your question too. I even looked at the clock. I'm like, it's that time again where somebody says something, and it hits a nerve, and Ray gets on her soapbox. So thank you for giving me a space to just word vomit, because as silly as it sounds, well, I hope it's helpful for you. I feel like I just got a whole new mindset of things that I'm going to start asking my students about on Monday. So I get so much from being able to chat with you guys and answer your questions. So thank you for being a part of this. Jessica's thanking Livia. That's so awesome. I really think that being able to do this all together is so powerful. All right, guys, I'm doing a last call for questions. If there is anything that you want to talk through, whether it be Teach Better team related, classroom related, anything, let us know. Really quick, while you're typing those final questions, I do want to let you know that there are some big, amazing celebrations that I just want to give a shout out for. One of them is that the advisory group for the Teach Better team is starting next Sunday, which, guys, I cannot tell you how excited I am about. The coaching series that the Teach Better team launch has 3 tiers, and tier 1 is truly just an advisory group. We're going to be doing stuff like this, but we're doing it once a month in a private Zoom link, and we are going to really build community and build a family with our like powerful tier 1 coaching team. So if you are somebody who is enjoying like our biweekly family check-in, if you want this more frequently, if you want to kind of be able to speak in a little bit more of a setting where we can have a dialogue versus you just commenting and me being able to like word vomit, that's what we're going to do. We're going to hop on a private Zoom link. We're just going to talk shop, and we're just going to make sure that everybody is supported. It's super affordable. You can find out all those details at teachbetter.com untitled.chapter.com/coaching. And remember, you really have to sign up for that like tomorrow, because I think Tuesday is the last day to sign up for that. But sign up like today or tomorrow. And then that starts next Sunday. And it's literally during this time. So we would be hopping on a Zoom link all together next week for that tier 1 coaching. And I'm very excited about it. So I hope you choose to come join us for that, because it will just be good dialogue, I think, for us to have every single month, kind of set some goals and reflect on a variety of topics. So that's one thing going on. We also just launched a major course that was accompanied by a blog series. So if you guys have not been to teachbetter.com recently, there is a brand new course in our academy called Time Management 101. And there's also a blog series on Time Management 101. So if you're somebody right now still trying to figure out your routine, your ebb and flow, go find out all of the ideas that were shared in the blog series and the full course done by Jeff. So that you can find at teachbetter.com/blogs. That's where the blogs are. And then the course is at teachbetteracademy.com. So you can see all those details. The last thing, and I know we're not like technically talking about this tonight, but I don't even care. I'm so excited for my friend Jennifer Apple. Jennifer Apple is a member of the Teach Better team. She just oozes positivity. She's so amazing. And she's got a new puppy. But Jennifer Apple is releasing her children's book this week. Like, we are in celebration mode here. It's on pre-order and it comes out on Friday the 20th. And Jennifer Apple, this is her second children's book, but they go together. And the first one focused on Maya. Her second book is called I Am Who and focuses on Ginger. There are such incredible uses that you can have with this brand new children's book. And I love that it's a part of the series, because you can not only collect them, but they all focus on different themes with the same characters. So I won't lie to you guys, I'm using these in my 6th grade classrooms. Like, when we're talking about culture building and stuff, like, I love reading children's books to my 6th graders and have them like give me feedback. Everything from, oh my gosh, those illustrations are so beautiful, to, oh, I really like dogs, to, yeah, let's talk about like that social and emotional struggle that character went through. So I just so want to celebrate Jen. Jen, I'm so proud of you. And I cannot wait for the second children's book to come out, because I know that people are going to be reading it to their children at night, and then also bring it to their classroom and sharing it with their like elementary, middle school, and high school students as well, just as an opportunity to get people talking. So shout out to Jen. You can pre-order that like a bunch of places, Amazon, Etsy, and at awardwinningculture.com. So there's like a ton of places. And I think you can buy them as a bundle. So that would be super cool. All right. Thank you for all of you that popped in. So good to see Kelly. Kelly, I did get your text yesterday, and I'm so excited to chat hopefully super soon. I love all the work that Kelly does. And if you guys have not checked out Kelly and her team with Nicole and Laura on Education Blueprint, that is literally a way for you to share and gather free resources. Education Blueprint is my favorite spot to go anytime I need anything. Carrie says, this is such a great way to start the week. I'm so glad. So glad. And I appreciate all the positivity, guys. I hope you have an incredible rest of your Sunday evening. And we'll talk again soon. But happy Sunday. And hope you have an incredible week. And yeah, just relax. Give yourself some grace. And you know what? Try and have like a little bit of fun. All right. Bye, guys.